Menagerie. Today's monster at one time owned over 2 million square kilometers of Africa and stood as its absolute monarch and sole owner for over 23 years. Much of the violent history of the Congo can be directly attributed to the actions of this despot. Born in 1839, King Leopold was the King of Belgium from 1868 to 1909. In 1885, he used his alliances and influences within the colonial powers consuming Africa at the time to create the, quote, Congo Free State. Free in big quotation marks there, considering he used mercenary forces to exploit all resources he could from the region and use the local population as slave labor to harvest it. The initial source of wealth came from ivory predominantly, but as rubber prices grew, the focus shifted to extracting that from the region instead of ivory. Because it was such a labor-intensive process to extract rubber, King Leopold and his mercenary forces used murder and torture methods to force the enslaved locals, considering that all of the people in the FRC were slaves, to meet production quotas for Leopold's personal profit. Failure to meet rubber production quotas was punishable by death. The enforcement of this punishment was often met by amputating the limbs, particularly the hands, of men, women, and children, as mercenaries had to produce the hands of their victims to get paid. The brutal reign led to between 1 and 15 million deaths of Congolese people, with the consensus being roughly around 10 million people. This led to one of the earliest coinages of the term crimes against humanity, when the brutality there was being described to the US by George Washington Williams. This brutal regime was only ended in 1908 when ownership and management of the territory was taken over from the personal control of King Leopold to the Belgian government, leading to the Belgian Congo, which was also an incredibly exploitative venture that controlled the region until they violently gained self-rule in 1965 under the autocratic regime of Mobutu Sese Seko. The enslavement of the entire region of Africa and slaughter of roughly 10 million local people has consequences to this day, with the DRC still being one of the most violent places in Africa and the world as a whole. That's all I have for today. Thank you for tuning in. Please feel free to like and subscribe if you find this content interesting. And I'll see you all the next time we visit the menagerie.